Over 50 new weapons were added to Destiny 2 with the launch of the final shape and the first episode Echoes. Some are never-before-seen weapon types like support frames, legendary 2-burst pulse rifles, and lightweight auto rifles. These new weapons, along with the brand new prismatic subclass, have completely shaken up the Crucible sandbox. So I think it's time to put them all on a big tier list to show you how each one of these weapons stacks up in PvP and what you should be spending your time grinding for. I'm also including the god roll for every weapon, so you can sort of use this as a massive god roll guide for the best PvP weapons as well. My name is Amps, and welcome to my complete best of Final Shape and Echoes PvP weapon tier list. If you find this video helpful, do me a favor and leave a like, and subscribe to not miss any more of my Final Shape content coming very soon. I'm also giving away one Aurora Prismialis emblem in this video. Bungie was kind enough to send me some codes, some more details on that later. We're going to start off with the Pale Heart Destination weapons, the first of which is the Someday Shotgun. We're starting off with an absolute heater. This is probably the best in slot legendary shotgun because it's basically Matador if it hit the gym for a year straight. It's very nice that it's in the kinetic slot because you can pair it with some of the best weapons like Igneous Hammer and Red Death. And this weapon can also get up to 100 range, 100 stability, 100 handling, and 100 reload speed. Talk about a stat monster. This is a 100% must-craft weapon and might only be second to Conditional Finality. The god roll for Someday is small bore, accurized, threat detector, opening shot with a handling masterwork. We're going to comfortably put this shotgun in the S tier. Next is the Bold Endings 2-burst hand cannon. Burst hand cannons are in PvP. The redeeming factor of one is how easily you can make it 2 bursts, because by default they have a 0.93 second time to kill, which is very slow. The way you can make Bold Endings 2 bursts is by using Golden Tricorn, which will let you 2 burst players under 8 resil. But to 2 burst all resilience levels, you will also need to be Radiant. This is a lot of steps compared to Warden's Law, which has kill clip and just lets you 2 burst anyone after a kill. So if you're one of the like 3 people that wants to use a burst hand cannon for PvP, even though it looks really cool, this is definitely not the one. The god roll for it is small bore, accurized, rapid hit, golden tricorn, or moving target with a range masterwork. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to put Bold Endings in the D tier. Next up is the No Hesitation Support Frame Auto Rifle. This weapon lives up to its new frame's name. It is 100% a support weapon. It isn't amazing as an offensive or dueling weapon, however, it does have its dedicated use, and it's very, very good at it. When you're hip firing to heal a teammate, you can make them out heal a ton of different things like 140 hand cannons, auto rifles, and so on. And if you pair it with the Speaker Sight Warlock helmet, it can generate a ton of orbs for your team, which is an extremely cheesy build for trials, by the way. But when it comes time where you're the one that has to make a play and fight somebody, it gets tough because the bullets have pretty slow travel time, making it a similar experience to using Osteostriga. You'll mostly rely on your kinetic weapon to do all of the slaying, meaning most of the time you might opt to run double primary. The god roll for No Hesitation is small bore, accurized, physic, circle of life with a range masterwork. Despite how cheesy that build is for trials, since we're going to be talking about overall Crucible in this video, I'm going to have to put this probably at the top of B tier simply because it just doesn't do that well at killing. But it's a phenomenal support weapon. The next weapon is Embraced Identity. You know when you walk into a grocery store looking for your favorite cereal and you notice they only have the store brand? Well, that's basically what this sniper is. Since it doesn't have snapshot, you have to fully build this thing into having the most amount of handling you can possibly get and use 2 or 3 targeting mods. It is nice to have 2 of the best perks on a sniper rifle that you can get at the same time, and you can get it down to a 0.28 second ADS speed versus Beloved's 0.22, but it has a weird zoom value of 46. It's definitely not like the worst sniper ever, but why would you ever use this when Beloved or Mercurial exists? If you have to get the Honey O's and not the Honey Nut Cheerios, you'll make it work, but you're never gonna enjoy them as much. The god roll for Embrace Identity is Fluted, Accurized, opening shot, moving target with a handling masterwork. We're going to put this at the bottom of C tier. With the Pale Heart weapons out of the way, let's move to the Echoes episode weapon set, starting off with Sightline Survey. Usually if you see a 180 hand cannon pop up on the right side of your screen, you immediately know to send that thing straight out of your inventory without a second thought. But I'm not going to lie, this thing actually really surprised me. It gets a bunch of good perks, including Precision Instrument, which lets you 3-tap players under 6 resilience, and with how abundant Radiant is with the Echoes artifact, you can 3-tap any resilience of player after you pick up an orb, with a 180 hand cannon, by the way. It also gets 34 meters of range, which is extremely solid. I mean, I really have nothing bad to say about this thing. It's kind of a sleeper pick that you might start to see as more and more people try it out. The god roll for Sightline Survey is Hammer Forged, Accurized, Keep Away, Precision Instrument with a range masterwork. You know what? I think I'm gonna put this bad boy in A tier. I was actually loving this thing. The next weapon is Timeworn Wayfarer. This weapon is basically if Bungie made DMT legendary and gave it a Vex Mythoclast theme ornament. It too also gets the perk Precision Instrument, which kind of works like a better version of Cranial Spike when it comes to damage. It also benefits from how easy it is to become Radiant in the current sandbox, because at Precision Instrument times 3 plus Radiant, you can just start 2-tapping people with a Scout Rifle, which is pretty cool. I mean, if you're a DMT fan or Scout Rifles are your thing, I can't think of a better option in PvP than this. Hitting up to 126 damage headshots is super fun and almost feels illegal. The god roll for Timeworn Wayfarer is Small Bore, Accurized, Keep Away, or Heal Clip, then a Precision Instrument with a range masterwork. This is another weapon that really surprised me, so I think I'm also gonna slap it in the A tier. Next, we have the Veiled Threat Auto Rifle. This weapon, if you squint really hard, looks just like Vex Mythoclast in your hands. But despite how good the weapon looks, it's not got a whole lot more going for it. It doesn't have a true top tier damage perk in its perk pool, the only one being Desperate Measures, which isn't really great in PvP. However, it does have a lot of range for being a 720 rapid fire auto, coming in at a max of 32 meters. I mean, all in all, there's not really much to say about this weapon other than it's fine. It just kind of exists. If you want to use an auto rifle in this slot, I think you'll find some other better options that'll work better for you. The god roll for Veiled Threat is Small Bore, Accurized, Fragile Focus, Moving Target with a range masterwork. Yeah, I didn't enjoy this thing too much, so I think we're gonna put it probably at the top of C tier. Next is Patron of Lost Causes. This is the second Scout Rifle from the Echo's weapon set, and it returns to us all the way back from Season of Dawn. Just like Timeworn Wayfarer, this Scout also happens to roll with Precision Instrument. You might notice by now this perk is one of the best in PvP currently, and I'm loving the fact that Bungie is putting it on more and more weapons. The Scout Rifle gets almost identical benefits to the 180 hand cannon that we were talking about earlier, where if you're Radiant and you have Precision Instrument, you'll just straight up 3-tap all enemy Guardians. It has slightly better perks compared to the Baja Blaster Scout Rifle from Guardian games, but it's very comparable to this weapon. It's an alright choice. I still prefer the Vex DMT from earlier, but if you wanted to use a Scout Rifle, this isn't an awful choice. The god roll for Patron of Lost Causes is Small Bore, Accurized, Rapid Hit, Precision Instrument with a range masterwork. We're gonna put this Scout near the bottom of B tier. Now we have the Breachlight sidearm. Breachlight is definitely one of those weapons I've wanted to see Bungie re-release with a completely overhauled perk pool. If you haven't tried them recently, 2-burst sidearms actually kinda cook in the Crucible, and they can be a very fun addition to loadouts. Unfortunately, this thing didn't get the greatest perk pool ever, but there is one build that it can thrive in. If you use a melee focus build with Swashbuckler and the new origin trait Cast No Shadows, you can get this thing down to a 0.47 second time to kill, which would absolutely cook. Outside of that very specific build and situation, however, it's kind of just another sidearm. It's a little too circumstantial to have a super consistent place in a variety of loadouts. The god roll for Breachlight is Hammer Forged, Accurized, Slice, Swashbuckler with a range masterwork. Due to its potential with the melee build, we're going to put this at the top of B tier. Next is the Line in the Sand Heavy Linear Fusion Rifle. Now I know what you're thinking, why am I including this random heavy linear fusion in a PvP video? Well, if you're the type of person that loves to use LFRs as your heavy of choice, then you're going to absolutely love this thing. With the god tier perk combo that it gets, you can get this bad boy all the way up to 100 aim assist, along with the fact that linear fusion rifles already have the hitboxes the size of the Empire State Building. I personally still like using a machine gun or a GL as my heavy, but by no means is this a bad option. The god roll for Line in the Sand is Fluted, Accelerated Coils, Moving Target, Opening Shot with a Handling Masterwork. I think we're going to put Line in the Sand at the top of V tier as well. Alright, now we've reached the Salvation's Edge raid guns, the first of which is Imminence. It's almost too ironic that the name of this weapon starts with the letters IMM and also happens to be a strand weapon, because man, am I getting flashbacks. Imminence is arguably the best SMG in PvP right now because it can get enhanced target lock, which actually changes the DTK down to a base of 0.67 seconds. And it also maxes out at a whopping 22 meters of range with Fragile Focus as a 900 RPM SMG, which is insane, and beats out a 5 out of 5 max range multi-mock with Iron on reach. You could also pair it with the perk Slice, which severs targets, turning them into tangles. And then those tangles, when you shoot them with a strand weapon and the artifact mod Threaded Blast, it will make the tangles one-shot anybody basically in the same zip code in PvP. I mean, this SMG just does it all. The god roll for Imminence is Hammer Forged, Accurized, Slice, or Fragile Focus, then Target Lock or Kill Clip, with a range masterwork. Yeah, this thing is so much fun, and it is absolutely insane. We're putting it right at the top in the S tier. Next is the pulse rifle Nullify. This is one of our first legendary heavy burst pulse rifles in Destiny. They shoot in bursts of 2, just like the exotic's Graviton Lance and Revision Zero's heavy burst mode. Unfortunately, these kind of suffer the same fate as the 2 burst hand cannons. They are so reliant on damage perks to get out of their abysmal base time to kill window. Nullify sadly really gets no good damage perks in PvP at all. So most of the time you're stuck with that same 0.93 TTK, and that really just won't cut it in the Crucible. In PvE, however, this thing is nuts with the new perk Chaos Reshaped. And I did a full video breaking down that new perk on Nullify if you want some more info on that. The god roll for Nullify is small bore, accurized, rapid hit, or heal clip, and then I guess like multi-kill clip or desperate measures or something. I don't know. One of the damage perks with a range masterwork. Yeah, I hate to do this to you, Nullify, because you're a super cool weapon, but you have to go in the D tier. Next, we have the critical Anomaly Sniper Rifle. I have been begging to have another super good aggressive sniper in PvP for so long. I remember farming for the Frozen Orbit Crucible Sniper back in Season of Chosen and being in love with that thing. And good news, Bungie knocked this one out of the park. It gets all the best PvP perks, including, of course, Snapshot and Opening Shot, or Snapshot and Quick Draw, on an aggressive frame, by the way. It also only has 43 zoom, which I believe ties it with a few other weapons for the lowest zoom aggressive frame sniper. When I finish farming for the 5 red porters, this will definitely be in my main rotations of snipers in the kinetic slot. I'm also a huge fan of the small crosshair. The god roll for critical Anomaly is Fluted, Accurized, Opening Shot, Snapshot, with a handling masterwork. I'm actually a huge fan of this weapon. I think I'm also going to put this thing in S tier. Before we jump into the ritual weapons, Bungie was kind enough to send me some codes for the new beautiful Aurora Prismialis emblem, and I'm going to give one away in this video. All you have to do is subscribe to my channel, like this video, and comment down below which weapon on this list has been your favorite since the final shape released. Also, following me over on Twitch would be greatly appreciated. I'll pick a winner and reply and get in contact with you in the next week or so. Now to the ritual weapons. Firstly, we have Better Devils. We finally see one of the most requested returns for a hand cannon coming all the way back from the Destiny 2 beta. Better Devils is back, and it's definitely better than ever. It's got a massive perk pool as it's the new Crucible vendor weapon for the final shape, and it's got a ton of really strong options. Whenever we get a new hand cannon in the kinetic slot, it always seems to boil down to one question. Is it better than Rose? Well, the verdict for Better Devils is in, and sadly, yeah, it's not. It cannot beat the range of a 5 out of 5 God Roll Rose, as its base stats are just simply worse in every category. But it does have some advantages over Rose, such as its massive perk pool that gives it way more options like Slice, Recombination, Kill Clip, and Swashbuckler. It's also so much easier to get a God Roll of Better Devils than it is for Rose, because all you need is one Crucible engram to focus for this hand cannon. No Glimmer even needed. So while you still chase that dream 5 out of 5 Rose, this hand cannon will work as a great substitute in the meantime. The God Roll for Better Devils is Hammer Forged, Accurized, Moving Target, Slice, or Rapid Hit, and then Explosive Payload or Opening Shot, with a range masterwork. Since it's just kind of Rose's backup, I feel like I'm gonna have to put this thing in A tier. Next, we have the brand new comp weapon, the Riposte. Just as Bungie created Rose to be the first ever lightweight 140 hand cannon, they did the same for this new comp auto rifle. Except apparently this random green auto rifle from all the way back in Red War, I guess nobody ever knew this thing existed. But since this is the new comp weapon, it's gotta be in the same class as Rose or Mercurial, right? Well, yeah, this thing's actually really solid. With it being enhanceable and rolling with target lock, it will get the base time to kill of 0.75 seconds, which by the way, straight up beats Summoner's TTK, which is 0.8 seconds. It also gets 29 meters of range as a 720 RPM auto rifle, which is very good, and is only 2 meters less than the range of Summoner with adept range on it. Strictly by the numbers, this weapon is gross. And the fact that it's a lightweight frame, giving you a ton of handling and extra movement speed for free, is the cherry on top. The god roll for the Riposte is small bore, ricochet, zen moment, target lock with a range masterwork. I actually thoroughly enjoyed using this thing, so I'm going to put it at the top of A tier. Next, we have the much anticipated brand new Trials Pulse Rifle. It's called Aisha's Care. Here we go again with the 2-burst pulse rifles, but this time we actually have way better damage perk options here. We have perks like Desperado and Kill Clip present in the 4th column, which is phenomenal to see. With Desperado procs, you'll get the TTK down to a 0.67 seconds. And if you happen to get Kill Clip active while you're also Radiant, then you can get the TTK down to a crazy 0.47 seconds. However, my main problem with these new 2-burst pulse rifles is that you're doing all of this work relying on these damage perks and buffs to 2-burst, when you can just slap on an aggressive frame pulse rifle like No Time, Messenger, or Elsie's rifle and just 2-burst all the time. They just seem so niche to me, but there will certainly be people out there who love them. They're just not for me. The god roll for Aisha's Care is Corkscrew, Ricochet, Zen Moment, Slice, or Keep Away, and then Kill Clip or Desperado with a range masterwork. Yeah, I just can't get behind these weapons, man. I'm gonna have to put this at the top of C tier. Next, we have the return of one of the most famous SMGs of all time, the Trials SMG, Shayura's Wrath. Players have been waiting for Bungie to re-release the Adept version of Shayura's basically since the day it was vaulted. And they finally got their wish with the launch of the final shape. I mean, it's always been a meme that if Bungie gave the Adept version of Shayura's target lock, it would probably break the game. And well, they did, but it's not as crazy as you think. It sits at a 0.8 second time to kill for 7 through 10 resilience values, and 0.7 for 6 and below. It comes in at a max range of 23.5 meters, which is actually less than the max range of Unending Tempest, and only 2 meters above Imminence. Don't get me wrong, it's Shayura's. The gun is very, very good, but I'm gonna say it. Speaking statistically, I think Imminence overall is the better SMG, but just by the slimmest of margins. I will say, however, since Shayura's is in the energy slot, it'll probably be the best in slot if you have a kinetic weapon you want to use. The god roll for Shayura's will be Hammer Forged, Ricochet rounds, Keep Away, Target Lock, or Kill Clip, with a range masterwork. This thing is like right on the brink of S tier, but I'm gonna have to put it right at the top of A tier. Next is the Iron Banner hand cannon, Crimil's Dagger. Just like how every 140 hand cannon is compared to Rose, every 120 will of course be compared to Igneous Hammer. So Crimil's Dagger has some big shoes to fill. Overall stat-wise, it does get worse base stats than Igneous. However, if we're talking specifically about range, it actually gets within a meter of max range Igneous Adept, coming in at 39.5 meters. It gets Precision Instrument on it as well, which is great to see, and it gets a perk that Igneous doesn't get, which is Kill Clip. So is it going to have that silky smooth feeling of Igneous Hammer with the most insane stats? No. Will it, however, provide the 2-tap ability that Igneous can't, and also have Precision Instrument, which is very strong on a 120? Yeah, it absolutely will. It being in the kinetic slot also separates it very nicely and gives a great 120 option there. I think when we finally get this thing when Iron Banner rolls around in July, might actually start to make some noise. It could definitely be a sleeper pick. The god roll for Crimil's Dagger is small bore, accurized, moving target, precision instrument, or kill clip with a range masterwork. I'm telling y'all, man, this thing actually might be really spicy. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the A tier. Next is another classic Iron Banner weapon that's returning. It's the pulse rifle Claws of the Wolf. This weapon's also coming in hot, looking to pack a punch. The cool thing about this new Claws of the Wolf is that it gets double damage perks. It gets Headseeker in the 3rd column, meaning you can get the best of both worlds, and also rock Kill Clip in the 4th column. Rapid pulses are in a pretty decent spot right now and can absolutely vaporize health bars. It also gets 34.5 meters of range, which is great for a 540 archetype. Without being able to fully test this role until Iron Banner returns in July, it's hard to say exactly how well it will perform. But on paper, it seems like this is another potentially sneaky good option that might surprise players. The god roll for Claws of the Wolf will be small bore, ricochet, Headseeker, Kill Clip, or Zen Moment with a range masterwork. We don't really know how insane this thing is going to be yet, so I'm going to put it at the top of B tier. Next is the Origin Story Auto Rifle. The first weapon you got back when you began this long journey at the beginning of the Destiny 2 vanilla campaign is finally back. It's the Vanguard vendor weapon for the final shape, meaning it is highly farmable and has a massive perk pool. It's got a lot of great options like Target Lock, Zen Moment, Onslaught, and more. It's a 450 RPM auto rifle, which currently does a pretty solid job in PvP. I mean, this thing is like the epitome of your baseline average gun in Destiny. It's not flashy, it doesn't have the most insane stats ever, but you can always count on it. It's reliable, has good perks, and will do the job the best it can. The god roll for Origin Story is Small Bore, Ricochet, Keep Away, Zen Moment, or Fragile Focus. Onslaught in the 4th column with a range masterwork. Again, this is like your most normal Destiny gun of all time, so I'm going to put it right in the middle of B tier. Next is the ritual weapon called Perfect Pitch. You can earn the static roll by ranking up the Crucible, Vanguard, or Gambit vendors if you're an absolute psychopath. Its static roll is Small Bore, Light Mag, Subsistence, and To the Pain in the 3rd column, and then Incandescent and Onslaught in the 4th column with a Handling Masterwork. I mean, I guess it's cool that it gets Onslaught on it, but like so many other better SMGs exist. This thing has to compete with Shayura's Wrath, Unending Tempest, and Imminence. It is just not in the same ballpark at all with those weapons. I don't think it'll ever be close to a top tier option in PvP. Unfortunately, Perfect Pitch, you're gonna have to go at the bottom of C tier. Now, of course, we also have to include the exotic weapons. The first of which is the exotic Khvostov. I mean, do you want to talk about a gun that is the in-game representation of the actual Giga Chad guy? There's a very good reason why it's currently the #1 most used weapon in trials by over 3 million kills. I mean, it has 20% of all kills in the playlist. 1 out of every 5 kills is just Khvostov. There's not much else I can really say on it besides, yeah, the gun's insane. You should really stop procrastinating and do the quest. I know it's a little tedious, but just go do it. You won't regret it, I promise you. It's also even more insane when you pair it with that new speaker sight healing and orb spam build I mentioned earlier, because guess what? Orbs buff the gun and it has shoot to loot to pick them up. Absolutely insane. Yeah, throw it straight up in the S tier immediately, and editor, can you please put like a million plus signs on the screen? I mean, this thing's crazy. Next is the Still Hunt Exotic Sniper. Yeah, that sniper that broke the PvE damage meta by itself overnight. The Golden Gun Sniper is not only really good at vaporizing raid bosses, but it's also very solid in PvP. Yes, the Golden Gun does work in PvP and lets you one-shot body shot anyone like a normal Goldie would. But that's not actually why it's super good in the Crucible. For whatever reason, I'm not sure if it's a bug or if it's intended, it gets 3 ammo when you initially spawn in, and 3 more per ammo meter completion. So you just like get way more ammo versus any other sniper in the game. Why? Phenomenal question. The Golden Gun progress unfortunately does reset in between trials rounds, so it's kind of just a normal sniper with a ton of ammo in that game mode. But in 6v6, it's super nice to get those extra supers. I'm gonna put it at the top of A tier. Next, we have the Red Death Reformed Exotic Pulse Rifle. Such a classic and OG favorite from Destiny 1, and they absolutely did it justice with its return. Before everyone figured out how good Khvostov was and started using it, Red Death was actually the most used trials weapon in week 1. It's absolutely disgusting and can 2-burst targets, especially when you get low health and get that damage bonus. Just like Crimson, it also heals you whenever you get a kill, which is incredibly strong for survivability. Then when Echo's Act 2 comes out, it will also get the Catalyst, which will make healing bursts that heal your teammates and make healing turrets. Yeah, that Catalyst is going to be nuts. Another just absolutely banger of an exotic that will be loved in PvP for a long time. Yep, go ahead and throw it up in the S tier. Well, that concludes my complete best of Final Shape and Echo's PvP weapon tier list. I'd love to hear in the comments what you think of my list, and if you think I ranked anything too high or too low, let me know. I hope you found this video informative, and if you did, drop a like for me, it really does help out. And subscribe to the channel to not miss any more content from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.